Hello world, it's me, Fabiola. So I have to stand like this because it's my post to let you know, hey baby, she's here. So I'm here. Life is lifing, but the whole point is I have not given up, right? Life is throwing its challenges and these faith walking opportunities, right, to keep it moving, and to just allow God's will and His promise to pass, right? Um, so now at this point in my journey, I am officially here in Houston, Texas. I've been here for a few months now, and me and my whole family have come along for this journey. So at this point, what I'm going to start to document is my journey with my business, Genesis Redux, right? And I think, not even I think, but rather the Lord is leading me to do this because I think it's important for other people who are in the same position as me to understand and to see that no, it's not easy when God has called you to do something. Um, and when God has called you to do something, and although everything and all the circumstances are dictating for you to be like, nah, sis, like you need to go back to what you need to be, to other stuff. And it's just like, no, like you're at a point where I have to get this done, right? And even today, as I'm in this space of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this thought came into my mind where self-preservation should never supersede being obedient to the will of God, right? Because it's so easy to allow our circumstances to be the one to dictate how we're going to move forward. It's so easy to allow what we see to be the very thing that makes our decisions, right? And what I'm learning even more so now during the season is how, like, even if you want to be obedient, right, like how there are other people and voices, right, that are um, that can be stimulating you or pushing you towards making the decision opposite of what God has called you to do, right? And but the reality is this: like, you're not the first. Like my mama always says, you're not the first, you're not the last. So how you gonna move forward? you know. So that's just the reality of it. But at this point, where God has always put it in my heart to be a business owner. Like, it's just, when I tell you it's in my blood, like, it's part of my DNA. Like, that's just my reality. Like, everybody in my family, as far as like my my parents, my grandparents, this is on both sides too, great grandparents. I have a bunch of business owners in my family. And although I have always worked, I've always known within my being, like, I just wasn't really meant to work for people. And if I do, it's typically like on a contractual, freelance type of basis or like remote, right? And that's what works for me. And that's what has been working for me for a very long time. But I feel like I'm at a point where God is trying to pull me away. He's like, nah, sis, it's time for you to do your own thing. And he's already told me what to do since COVID, right? But things kind of fluctuated, it shifted, and I was doing it to a certain point, but then when COVID shifted, so did my business. And instead of like focusing on instead of growing my business, right, what I did was I just went back to what I know, to what I knew, right? Essentially, to what I knew. I went back to what was comfortable. I went back to what I knew was a sure paycheck, and I went back to regular nursing. And as time went on within the past year, I've been miserable. And it's not for a lack of like not having good jobs. I had great jobs, great positions. If anything, within a very short time frame, like I've elevated very quickly and very high in high positions. I would say within the past year and a half or so. And I went up like 3 levels as far as like managerial directorship positions, but then I realized like, yo, this is not for me because it's not what God has called me to do. So here I am, and it's kind of like a do or die thing. Well, I ain't gonna die, but like, but I think that it's one of those things like, I feel like I'm in a space right now. It's either I submit to what God has called me to do, right? Or I'm going to be in a space where I'm going to be, take it biblically because that's just who I am and I'm all about the Bible, right? You know how when the children of Israel were in were they had to make a decision, right? We can either go into the promised land right now, right? or not. That's basically what it was. God sent them out to the promised land. I mean, sent two of them into the promised land, yo, check it out. Or a few of them to the promised land, go check it out, see how things are, or whatever. But it wasn't like, okay, like, I'm going to send you to the promised land so you can to see if it's not going to work or what's going to work. I'm just giving you a preview as God's thinking. You know, I'm going to give you a preview of what is yours. But some of the folks that went there were just like, yo, God, yo, chill, man. Like telling Moses, yo, there's mad giants out there. Yeah, the land is flowing with milk and honey and all, but that ain't for us, you know, like there's too much challenges that we would have to face if we were to go take the land. And here go Caleb and Joseph, like, not Joseph, excuse me, Joshua. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's ours. If he said that's our land, then what's the problem? It's ours. Well, needless to say, the Israelites, because of their lack of faith, God was just like, you know what, how about this? Y'all not even gonna go. How about none of y'all are gonna be able to see it with your two eyes, except for these two who actually believed it. And as a result of their unbelief, they spent 40 years walking around the same rock. I don't know if it was rock, but the same desert, you know, for like 40 years. 40 years. I'm at a point in my life, I don't want to keep allowing my lack of faith, right? My lack of faith and not being able to logically make things make sense because of the giants that I see in my promised land, right? Or to get to my promised land or whatever, to allow me and now put myself in a position where I'm messing around with the desert. Listen, I don't like being hot. I don't like all of that. Like, listen, you know, and it's to the point where it's just like, no, like it's time to stop. You know, we have to get to that point where enough is enough, right? And I don't want to keep going around the desert. Like, you know, it's not just a biblical story. Like, yo, this stuff can be applied to this day, right? And once again, like, we have to make a decision. Like, self-preservation should not go should not be above being obedient to God's word, to being obedient to God's will. Like, I have to believe because my Father is my Father. He is who He is. His word always prevails. Like, is the same yesterday, today, forever. Like, I have to stand on all of this stuff, right? Because if I don't believe it, right? If I don't believe it, then why am I serving Him? You see what I'm saying? So I say all of that to say this, that, you know, whatever it is that God has called you to do, it is better to be obedient than to sacrifice, hands down, you know? And even when I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, can I do it? Can I not do it? I can't sit here and worry about that because I know what the word says, and the word says that He doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called, right? And then on top of that, another thing is too, like, it's never going to be a perfect situation. This video that I'm creating, I didn't even come here to record this video. The video that I was actually supposed to be here creating was actually for my postpartum, what do you call it, online class that I'm supposed to be creating, okay? However, I don't know how much the mic is picking up. There's a whole bunch of ruckus here. And I'm just like, at first I was like, I'm gonna quit. I'm just so over it, I'm not gonna do it. But then as I started talking to the video, I was like, you know what, bump this. Like, I'm not even gonna focus on that. Let me just adjust as necessary and let me go ahead and start creating these videos. Because I need to document my journey, not only for other people, to help other people out, but also for me, for my own lesson, right? In the word, it talks about that we overcome by the power of our testimony, right? Because it's always something. And even sometimes when I go back and I listen to my own videos, like, what it comes down to is, like, it reminds me of everything that God has done. It reminds me of the faithfulness of God. He's forever faithful. He's forever faithful. He's forever faithful. And that's a fact. And I pray that whoever hears this, it will be able to bless them and to know that, yo, like, keep moving forward regardless of the distractions and the noise and everything else that's going on. Yo, just keep moving forward, because once again, self-preservation, or even like the false illusion of right timing, it should never go above what God is saying, or whatever God is doing, or whatever God has told you to do, right? Self-preservation should never be ahead of or in front of being obedient to God's word or His will or His purpose, right? So anyway, I hope this helps somebody. So I just wanted to quickly say this. Continue to move forward because God truly blesses the faithfulness. I mean, the faithfulness of others. And I think that, not I think, but rather when you look at Joseph and Jacob, wrong person. When you look at Joseph and wrong person, wrong people. Why keep naming these wrong people? You look at Joshua and Caleb, right? Because of their faithfulness, because they would not back down to what other people were saying, and their doubts and their fear and all this bunch of stuff. God made sure that He blessed their faithfulness, that He blessed their faith, right? And they were the only two out of all of them people who came out of Egypt who actually went and seen the promised land. You know, Joshua was even more so blessed because look how God even passed the mantle was passed from Moses to Joshua, and he was actually able to lead the people, right? Of course, I mean across the which water is that? I think I want to say it was the Jordan River, but he was able to lead them across that to the promised land, right? So we walk by faith and not by sight. God is faithful forever, and we continue to stand on that. And as my people say in Creole, you know what I'm saying? It's not even like a real Creole phrase, but like, ippy, that's it, meaning that's it. And that's it, you know? So, ippy, that's it. I finish, okay? Like my father says, okay? I finish, I am finished. Hold on to that, hold on to his word. God is faithful, and that's it. Till next time.